World Health Organization demonizes America's cattle herds, claims bird flu could spread to cows outside the United States. They don't have no evidence to this or anything, no science backing this up. They just making these accusations, these claims. They're doing everything they can. The globalists are doing everything they can to get rid of cows. They want to get rid of farmers in general, small farmers in general. So we don't have that. We can't provide our own meats. We can't provide our own foods. We have to eat the bugs. We have to eat the plant-based foods and stuff like that. They are really trying to get rid of our our cows. So of course they're going to demonize it as soon as they find out that bird flu can be passed to cows. Of course they will hop on that opportunity to demonize cows. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram in my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Now, this comes from Slate News' the great Frank Bergman, and he reports that the globalist World Health Organization is ramping up efforts to demonize America's cattle herds in the latest assault in the war on food. I mean, again, they are coming after our way of life. They're trying to kill our sovereignty, one cow at a time. But on Tuesday, a WHO official claimed American cattle pose a risk of spreading the H5N1 bird flu virus to cows outside of the United States. The WHO argues that migratory birds will spread the virus between cows in other nations. The United Nations Health Agency did not provide any evidence, of course, because no evidence exists. They didn't provide any evidence to support these claims, however. U.S. officials are seeking to verify the safety of milk and meat after confirming the H5N1 virus in 34 dairy cattle herds in 9 states since late March and in one person in Texas. Now, they're already talking about vaccinating the cows and the milk and stuff like that. So I don't know what effect that would have on on a person that drinks milk that's been vaccinated. This whole thing is weird to me. I think they're ramping up for something big. Are they really trying to do the same thing that they did to us in 2020? Try to put us on lockdown and things like that. They're using this as an excuse. But I digress. During a news briefing in Geneva, Switzerland, Wenzing Zhang, head of WHO's Global Influenza Program, said, quote, "With the virus carried around the world by migratory birds, certainly there is a risk for cows in other countries to be getting infected." The unelected bureaucrat reiterated that the WHO deems the overall public health risk posed by the virus to be low, but urged vigilance. Asked to evaluate U.S. transparency on the outbreak so far, Zhang said the global body had received regular updates. She praised the decision to share the virus's genetic sequence early. Quote, "I do think the collaboration with US CDC and the information we've received so far enables us to monitor the situation and to update the preparedness measures," she said, and fearmonger people and push propaganda, I would add as well. But the warning comes amid increasing efforts from globalists outside forces to demonize America's meat and dairy industry. In recent years, the UN, the the World Economic Forum, and other foreign entities are increasingly insisting that farmers are causing so-called climate change. Again, this is propaganda. This is about destroying our sovereignty, our way of life. If we get rid of the farmers, then we're dependent on the globalists to feed us bugs and to feed us nasty plant-based artificial meats that taste nothing like real meat. But leading the charge for such claims in the U.S. has been Democrat President Joe Biden's former climate czar, John Kerry. Before leaving the role last month, Kerry claimed that American farmers need to stop producing meat and dairy for the U.S. food supply to fight so-called global warming. As Slate News reported, Kerry is calling for a crackdown on farmers in order to meet the WEF's net zero goal for lowering emissions. Kerry issued the warning during the Green Agenda conference in Washington, D.C. During the Department of Agriculture's AIM for Climate Summit, Kerry told the audience that, quote, we can't get to net zero. We won't get this job. We won't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of our solution. So again, get rid of the farmers. Kerry warned attendees that his and other world leaders, quote, lives depend on farmers ceasing their operations. So they want farmers to stop producing food. And stopping farmers from growing food will lower agriculture emissions, Kerry insists. He continued by noting that he does not even call it climate change anymore. It's not change, it's a crisis, he declared. These people, quote, mitigating methane is the fastest way to reduce warming in the short term, Kerry claimed, as he took aim at livestock farmers. Again, none of them produce any evidence that reducing CO2 reduces warm temperatures. No science has ever proven that, but yet this is what they push. Quote, food and agriculture can contribute to a low methane future by improving farmers' productivity and resilience, he further stated. We welcome agriculture ministers participating in the implementation of the Global Methane Pledge. On behalf of the U.S., Kerry joined several other nations in signing the Global Methane Pledge. See, we got all these pledges and stuff by not going through Congress, bypassing Congress, not being approved, not being signed by the president. They come in with these pledges, and then they take these pledges and put them in regulations, like through EPA and USDA and things like that. This is how they push this stuff, by circumventing Congress. As Slate News reported, 13 nations from around the world signed an agreement to crack down on the agriculture industry to fight global warming. International governments signed the pact pledging to target food production by shutting down farms to reduce, quote, methane emissions. The 13 nations that signed the Global Methane Pledge are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Burkina Faso, Chile, Czech Republic, Ecuador, Germany, Panama, Peru, Spain, the United States, and Uruguay. Notice no other big country signed this, really, except for Germany, because it's ridiculous. But the move seeks to drastically cut meat and dairy supply around the world to allegedly save the planet from climate change. The U.S., Australia, Brazil, and Argentina nations that are signing the pact are among the world's largest producers of meat. Of course, there we go. Meanwhile, a bombshell new peer-reviewed study has just provided conclusive evidence that increased carbon emissions cannot and will not cause global warming. Y'all know I reported on this a while back when I found this study. It's unscientific, the stuff that they're pushing. And then when you have science to the contrary, of course they don't look at it, they don't mention it. But we have a peer-reviewed study to show that decreasing carbon does not, in fact, decrease the temperatures. As Slate News reported, Dr. Jan Kubicki led a group of world-renowned polar scientists to study the impact of increases in CO2 emissions on the Earth's global temperatures. However, not only did they find that higher levels of CO2 made no difference, but they also proved that it simply isn't possible for increases in carbon dioxide to cause temperature rise. Kubicki and his team recently published 3 papers which all concluded that Earth's atmosphere is already saturated with carbon dioxide. This saturation means that even at greatly increased levels of CO2, the greenhouse gas will not cause temperatures to rise. But of course, they ignore the science and continue to push their agenda because it's not about so-called fixing the climate. It's not about any of that. It's about power and control, y'all know, like I always say, and they use this propaganda to further their power and control. But let me know what you think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. Oh yeah, and in my Patreon, I got a new video on my Patreon, so y'all go ahead and sign up and check that out as well. All right, until next time, peace.